If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Emailed me yesterday and I said,
yeah.
Okay, so welcome to the Kay Files. I want to talk a little bit about our sponsors this morning. Linda, Statewide has been with us for quite a while.
Right,
yes, from the very beginning.
From day one,
I want to appreciate them very much.
Absolutely.
For being on board, and also Barnes Safety. He teaches concealed carry, and that is so important, people. You need to get your concealed carry. So
retired state trooper.
Yeah, retired state trooper, and you need to take it from a law enforcement officer.
Right.
I mean, really, that really adds to it. I mean, there's
a lot of them out there doing it,
and there are, but
I found out a few things I did not know.
What's that?
Just a few days ago, I was speaking to a law enforcement official. If you get your concealed carry, right? Here's another reason why folks should sign up and do this. You can use that to buy any pistol that you want without waiting.
Right.
Right now, I mean, the usual process, you go there and you pick out a pistol that you like, and you got to go through all these hoops, and you got to get a permission to buy it, and you know all this stuff. But if you get your concealed carry permit, you can go to your local gun shop, you can go to your local pawn shop, you can go to the flea market, you can go to any gun show that anywhere in North Carolina, and you can buy a pistol without having to have any other documentation, because you've got your concealed carry, which is signed by
exactly right.
It has to be signed by the sheriff in the county that you live in, or so I mean, it's you've already got your background check done. You've already went through a lot of hoops during the process of the class and getting your concealed carry. So that's just a reason. I mean, that's another reason to have it right there. So So if you, you know, it's not easy buying a handgun in North Carolina, as it should not be easy to buy a handgun in North Carolina, but having your concealed carry makes it a whole lot easier.
That's exactly right. Well, we do appreciate Barnes Safety and Consulting sponsoring our program. Please give him a call, and his ad will come back up again so you can see that. He's in the Bailey area. But many people, he says he's getting many people from Rocky Mount coming there. So call him and get on board, and so that you can get your concealed carry. So, okay, case number 1.
Wow. I don't
we got something good today.
Yeah, we do. I don't even know what number we would be on.
And we would be with Lieutenant Seifman in the next segment. He decided he would take vacation this week. Lucky him.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have him back as soon as possible.
Yes, we will.
So the I think it's maybe a good thing. I don't know. When I first started reporting years ago, I kept up with everything. I kept every piece of paper. I kept everything, and then you get to a point where you just can't keep up with it all.
Right.
I mean, I honestly
too many pieces of paper.
Yeah. I mean, and I honestly don't know how many murder trials that I've covered. You know, I mean, I've done so many. I don't know how many. I don't know how many murder cases. I can't remember all the murder cases. I can't. You know, I try, and we're getting to that point with the show here, where in the very beginning I kept very meticulous records on everything and this and that. But now, I mean, almost a year in, you know, I can't remember whether we did cases or not. You know, and I had to go back and look. But I know we have not done this one. We may have mentioned it in passing a couple times. But we're going to talk about Scotland Neck today. Have you?
Oh, Scotland Neck.
Yeah, the home of the Sylvan Heights Bird Park.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
Oh, yes, many times.
Me and the family go there all the time. It's a
very
great
nice place.
There's a picture of the bird park. I mean,
yes, if you haven't been, you need to go.
It is an amazing place.
It is.
I mean,
I love it.
I could not believe how many birds they have and how wonderful what they've done with that.
And
place.
the family that takes care of it, they're just top notch.
They are great guys. And I got to know the father. Son, the son.
The son, Brent.
Yeah, Brent. He is. He's actually a avid comic book reader like I am.
Really?
Yeah, I know you don't think that. You wouldn't
think that about him.
No, but he is. I bumped into him into the comic book store here in town, and we started talking. And yeah, he is since a kid, just like I am. So
wow.
So we always have a lot to talk about, and I've been out there to the bird park several times. Of course, I didn't go last year because, you know, that was like the worst year of everyone's life, so I didn't.
Well, let me tell you a quick story about that. I had the birds at the power plant, had Brent come on. We were having a great time. He brought a couple of birds. They were the sweetest little things. And all of a sudden, one of the birds, this was in one of our intros for our late show because it was so funny. One of the birds got loose, flew up into our light, hit his head, and just fell.
Oh my goodness.
He didn't die. He didn't die. It stunned him. And then when he got up, he starts just flying around wild, and he comes and he gets in my hair.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm sitting here on live TV going, ah! You know, it was.
I need to see that. You need to show me.
Well, we have it on tape, believe me. Yes. But anyway, it's a great place.
I've heard you had like a bird's nest for hair, so I would have really loved to see.
Look now.
All right, so today we're going to talk about 18-year-old Jalisa Reynolds. Okay. She all right, let me see where I got all this.
So she lived in Scotland Neck.
She lived in Scotland Neck, right? She went by the nickname Jay or Lisa, right? She's 5 feet tall. Okay, so on February 22nd, 2010, she's got on her favorite blue jean jacket. She's got on a pink shirt. She's at the She uses the computer at the public library. February 22nd, 2010, there's the library in Scotland Neck.
God, they have a library in Scotland Neck?
They have a library in Scotland Neck.
That's great.
All right, so she uses, you know, and she used the computer, I mean, which that's mostly what libraries are now.
Yeah, true.
You know, my wife's the librarian in Spring Hope.
Yeah,
and that's
I
what
know.
People, the library has really changed from what, I mean, it used to be like this quiet place where you go and check out books or look, you know, look up stuff or whatever. But basically now it's libraries have become computer resource centers, really.
Right.
And my wife spends most of her day helping people do things on the computer and whatnot, rather than what you would think when you think about a librarian. And when she you know, the library's managed through Braswell, and when she got the job a few years back, it was all about customer service, computer knowledge, stuff like that. Not what you. So I mean, you know, libraries are not what they're
not what they used to be. You're right.
It's all about
exactly
computers
right.
and stuff like that. Okay, so Jalisa uses the computer at the library on February 22nd, 2010. Right. She's never seen again. Yep. Good.
These people just, it just amazes me.
Yes. Never seen again. Okay, so investigators, they track her internet use. So when she's missing for a couple of days, they go back. She's 18 years old. She's missing, right? They go back and they track her library use to a house on Cemetery Lane, right? So we got a map. Brittany,
so does her family know these people?
Nope.
So the family doesn't, her family doesn't know the people on Cemetery Road?
Absolutely not. So,
and why she would be
so you see Scotland Neck.
Right.
Okay, the library there in the middle of town. There's the bird park on the map, because it's the probably the only thing that Scotland Neck's known for.
Right.
Has nothing to do with this story, but it was on the map anyway.
Right.
Okay, so you're looking at 3 minutes by car, right?
Right.
38 minutes walking. So 235 Cemetery Road is outside of town, up in that area. Okay, so she makes communication with the house at 235 Cemetery Road with the computer at the library, right?
What does she say?
Well, we don't know, but she's gone. Well, law enforcement probably knows, but they're not
They're
sharing.
not telling.
But we'll get to it. But she communicates with the computer that's at the IP address at 235 Cemetery Road.
Okay.
Okay, 200 feet behind that house, and I want to show how close this is. There's Cemetery Road. That's the where it says 1 minute right there. That's the same. That's the address that we just showed on the other map. That's 235 Cemetery Road.
Okay.
Well, 200 feet from there, up through the woods a little bit, is 89 Nostrium, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, Nostrium Lane.
Okay.
Right. We'll get to that later. I just want I want people to think about it now. Okay. So, like I said, Jalisa, she went by the name Jay. She went by the name Lisa. She had her blue jean jacket on. She had a pink shirt on. She uses a library February 2010. I mean, that's 11 years ago now, right? We're at the anniversary of that. That's 11 years ago.
Yes.
Has not been seen since then. Okay, so I first wrote about this in 2016. I think we got a headline there of that, right? So I've been writing about this case a lot over the years, right? So that's from the Telegram in 2000, or actually that's from the Tarboro Weekly, the paper that the Telegram owns. That I might be defunct now. I'm not sure. I think COVID killed a lot of newspapers along with a lot of people. So I've done a lot of research on this story over the years, right? I mean, it's one of those stories that just keeps coming back up, right?
Right.
One reason is because it's just so damn frustrating that you know, in such a small town.
Why has nobody
goes, right.
come through?
Exactly. A teenager goes missing. Right. Okay, so 235 Cemetery Road. The house belongs to Dwayne Davis. So here's a picture of Mr. Davis, right?
How old is he?
I don't know. You would ask me a question. I don't know. He is. He's in his 30s.
Okay.
So, or was at that time, 10 years ago he was, right? So you got.
So exactly, I can kind of picture in my mind what's going on.
Right, right. So you got an 18-year-old teenager.
Lured somewhere.
Right, who it communicates with somebody at that house. Who, I mean, he lives alone, so, you know, some conclusions can be drawn there. He has been identified by the authorities as a suspect. Okay, in 11 years, he's the only guy that has been identified as a suspect, and you can tell from that picture that is from the sex offender registry in 2017.
Oh,
yeah,
so a registered sex offender.
Yes,
so this is really coming
yeah,
to light.
Yeah. He has been, Mr. Davis has been a registered sex offender since 1993 when he was convicted of rape. So you've got a registered sex offender.
Well, at least he let the other one live.
Right. Wow. You got a registered sex offender, and you got a teenager that was last communicating with his house, and we'll get into more of it when we come back from the commercial break.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
It's to their detriment that people don't listen to me.
When
I have ideas, people should listen to me.
We're having a blast this morning. Okay, so carry on. We know he's a registered sex offender.
Right, we're back to Mr. Davis. Okay,
yes.
That's what Mr. Davis looked like in 2010. We saw a picture of him what he looks like in 2017. Okay, so, and you know, law enforcement, they always say, people change over the years. Like, I've lost my hair. I was looking the other day on the train show me and Fred was on, and like,
You're bald.
I'm going
You're bald.
I was out feeding chickens the other day I was in the sun for like 3 minutes, and I got the top of my head got burned. All right, so cops always, they call it the T. You got the eyes and the nose, and eyes and the nose never change over the years, or doesn't change as much. So when you go to look at someone, when cops go to look at someone, they're looking at their eyes, they're looking at their nose, because your hair, your cheeks, your chin, they all get fat and or whatever. All right, so Mr. Davis got tired of people always asking him about Jalisa. So he finally, I think in 2012, now this is before I got here, but I mean, I've been out there a couple times, he won't talk to me, but in 2012, he told a group of reporters that Jalisa came to his house that day. Right?
Oh.
So there's another thing, like you put yourself at. A lot of times, cops will get, when they're interrogating someone, they call it, whatever. They'll get someone to admit that they're at the scene of the crime. Then they're halfway there towards, So I mean, he's said, yeah, she came to my house. She wanted to use my computer, and she wanted to look at my horses.
Okay, why would she want to use his computer when she could go to the library and use it?
Exactly. So,
she was already at the library using the computer.
So, and we don't know, law enforcement may know, although I don't think they do, but they may know how she got from the library to his house.
And why would she care about looking at his horses?
Right, she could have, well, I mean, he could have, he could have used all that to lure her
He
there,
did.
Or, whatever.
In my mind.
Right.
In my mind.
Right. Well, people always have that innocent till proven guilty thing.
Oh, that's right.
Now,
that's right.
The whole thing about innocent till proven guilty, and I'm not saying this guy's guilty, right? The whole thing about innocent till proven guilty, that is for the courts and for the government.
Yes.
Just like free speech, right? Free speech is for the government. It's not for private people.
Exactly.
Like newspaper. Here, I'm gonna hold up my newspaper. I never plug my newspaper.
Well,
but when
you should.
Look, when you got headlines like that, it says, I don't know, it says
Mayor
oh
yeah,
Dodge
that was good.
With an empty seat, the mayor's empty seat. When you got, people always, they'll send letters to the paper or whatever over the years, not necessarily the Spring Hope Enterprise, but just any
right.
paper. And they say, oh, you've got to print this letter, it's freedom of speech and all that. No, newspapers are private business. Mm-hmm. WHIG is a private business. Mm-hmm. We don't owe, there's no, freedom of speech applies to the government.
Right.
Right? Okay, so the idea of innocent till proven guilty also applies to the government.
Right.
The government can't go around saying that you've done something until you're convicted of it. But that doesn't apply to private citizens.
Right.
If you're watching the news and you think some guy's guilty,
you can say that.
That's right.
You can say that.
So,
but you know what?
Plus, this
story makes me want this girl's body to be found so bad.
Right. And there's yes, I agree. And there's standing too, right? So what I mean by that is, I wrote a story many years ago about a guy that was convicted of killing some women, accused of killing a whole lot more. And he was sitting in prison up in Michigan. He was a Marine who killed a lot of women here. Mm-hmm. He got out of the Marines, he went back to Michigan and kept killing women up there. Actually, he was killing women up in Michigan, went to the Marines, then killed some women here, and then he went back to Michigan to kill some more. And I wrote in a news article that he burned a woman alive. Mm. And he sued, or he tried to sue me. The judge wouldn't even have it, but he tried to sue me, saying that I was tainting the jury pool here, because his contention was, in the paperwork that he filed with the court, his contention was that she was already dead before he set her on fire. So that's kind of a, wow. So the best he's got is that, I didn't set her on fire. Right. She was already dead when I didn't burn her alive. She was already dead when I set her on fire.
Exactly.
But he didn't have any standing in court because the guy is convicted of killing like 5 women or whatever. So, who cares what he has to say? So anyway, and again, I'm not conflating. I'm trying to be fair about this. I'm not conflating Mr. Davis to this, because Mr. Davis has not had a day in court. But one of the reasons he hasn't had his day in court is that law enforcement brought this law enforcement brought this case to the DA's office because they felt like they had strong circumstantial evidence. The DA's office hasn't acted on the case. The Halifax County DA's office has not acted on the case.
You know how I am about the DAs.
Right. All right, so here's where the case really takes a turn, right? So we've got a young girl, 18 years old. She's at the library. She ends up communicating with the house, a computer in a house. You got to say it right. She ends up communicating with a computer in a house that belongs to a registered sex offender, and then she disappears, right? Okay, so, I mean, we can't say that she communicated with him, but we know that through computer forensics that she communicated with his computer.
That's true.
Okay, so authorities are looking for her body. You know, you mentioned about finding her body.
Yes.
Brittany, show that map again of 89 Nostrum Lane, Cemetery Road. No, I think that's yeah, there you go. All right, Brittany's on fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're looking, there's 235 Cemetery Road.
Okay.
This is 2010. They're looking for her body in the woods behind 235 Cemetery Road, right? They find a body.
Oh, really?
They find a woman's body that is halfway between 235 and 98 Nostrum Lane.
Wow.
Okay, so they at first they thought it was her body. I mean, wouldn't you, if you're out looking for a body of a person who's disappeared and you come across a decomposed body, the first thought would be that's probably Jalisa that we're looking for. Well, it turns out it's not Jalisa at all. It is the body of 43-year-old Christine Boone, who disappeared from Rocky Mount in 2006.
Really?
Yes. So.
Oh, I remember that picture.
Take a guess of who lived at 98 Nostrum Lane in 2006.
Oh my word.
That's right.
What?
Yeah, go ahead and show us picture. Nope, wrong one. He lived at 235 Cemetery Road. Mr. Pittman lived at 89 Nostrum Lane in 2006.
Oh.
Now, what we know about Mr. Pittman, convicted killer that he is, that he loved to dump women's bodies on Seven Bridges Road.
And tell everybody who he was. Yes. Right.
He killed some women.
Killer.
He killed women here in Rocky Mount from 2005 or so till he got caught doing it in 2009 and was sent to prison for life. His appeal
convicted
case,
of one.
Convicted of one, but that one in North Carolina will get you life in prison, and he's lost his appeal, and he's not ever getting out of prison. Thank God, because he's not going to stop killing people.
No.
If he did. So Mr. Pittman, he lived behind Mr. Davis in 2006, and that's when Mrs. Boone went missing, and they found her body. Mr. Pittman was already in prison awaiting trial when they found her body. She had been missing and dead for 4 years.
I don't even want to drive through that area.
Right. There's a couple of posters, some other women that we can get into later that could be unrelated, but I mean, there's 3 or 4 women that are missing from Scotland Neck, and it's a very small town. You know, Scotland Neck's a very small town, but yet they have 3 or 4 women that are missing from there. Jalisa being one of them. So Mr. Pittman was a suspect in around half a dozen murders. He was convicted of one of them. There was at least 12 women that were missing or murdered around that time that he was at one point suspected of, or at least linked to all those murders. But I've proven over the years that a couple of them were definitely not his, and then there's probably a lot more that weren't. So, you know, the thing about Mr. Pittman, and I think this story illustrates that, is that one of the scariest things that a community can hear, I think, is that there's a serial killer on the loose,
yes,
right?
yes.
You know, I mean, that's when you have a woman missing, or a woman that
right.
is found dead, then you have another one. I think everybody is kind of like, you know, biting nails, hoping that it's not.
Yes.
I just put something on the Facebook page a couple of days ago down in Robeson County. They've got several women that bodies have been found or gone missing in Robeson County. So they're kind of going through it, what we went through.
But see, what people don't realize is that guy or any guy or woman or whoever killed Jalisa.
Right. She's dead.
Could have driven her to Virginia.
Yeah, they could have.
They could have just driven her to Virginia somewhere.
They could
I
have.
mean, yes, you always look in close proximity, and probably more cases than one. I mean, most of them are probably in close proximity, right?
Yeah, and the thing, and it's always somewhere that people are familiar with.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said that on this show before. I mean, I wrote a story about a guy that killed his girlfriend and drove with her her body in the trunk all the way to Texas, and then where his grandma lived, and then buried her body behind her grandma's house. You know, so people always dump bodies where they're familiar.
But I never could
Even
figure
though you can say that, you can say that over and over and over again, they're still going to do it.
But I still can't figure out to this day, Lynn Keel. I cannot figure out why. Nobody knows the correlation between him and that place in Edgecombe County that he dumped his wife.
It'll come out in trial. It will. I guarantee it.
I really want to know what that was.
There was a lady, I think I've said this before too, there was a lady, they found her body in Momire, and Momire has a population of about 100. It's a small town between Rocky Mountain and Nashville, or I mean between Spring Hope and Nashville, out where I live. And you know, I asked the sheriff then when they announced that they found her body in Momire. I said, "So is it her grandparents or who? You know, and who lives in Momire?" And it was her grandma, or his grandma, I mean, rather. So because they're always dumping what they're familiar with, and that and you brought up an interesting point about jurisdiction or boundaries are artificial, right? They're arbitrary. The state line is something that we created,
right?
Right. So it doesn't. Cases don't stop at the state line.
That's right.
So like you said,
That's
whoever, somebody could have, you know, I mean, Mr. Parks, creepy as he is, I mean, maybe she went and looked at his horses and was walking home and somebody picked her up and said, "Hey, you need a ride," and then the next thing you know, she is in Virginia.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know at this point. But the thing is that that's why that we will be starting the whole unidentified thing soon, because we're finding more and more. And I was just talking to a detective with the Charlotte Police Department the other day about this. These unidentified bodies, 120 of them in North Carolina, there's somebody's missing person. Right?
That's right.
So they're going to be, he thinks that in the next 5 years with DNA and all that, because now they're doing genealogy, I can't pronounce it.
Genealogy.
They're doing that with,
yeah.
So they're finding people through their parents and grandparents and sons and daughters and brothers and sisters. So a lot of these 120 cases, hopefully in the next 5 years, will be linked to missing people. And they could be missing people from anywhere, like you said. Okay.
And we're also going to do, in the next couple of weeks, I hope, I'm going to work on getting these pictures together, sex offenders. We're going to do one county at a time. Like we'll take this week, not 3 weeks consecutively because we have other cases, but you know, we'll do Nash County. We'll do Nash County, then we'll do Edgecombe County, then we'll do Wilson County. We're going to do the registered sex offenders to let you know who in your community, your neighborhood, might be a registered sex offender. I think we need to do that.
Yeah, so. General, Brittany's opened the door, which means we got to go to our last commercial break.
Yes.
So if you can call back, we'll get you on the air right after the break.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
And welcome back.
So I was saying that a community, the last thing that a community wants to hear is that there's a serial killer.
Oh, you bet, you bet.
So sometimes there's a natural resistance to link cases together.
Right.
Right. So there's like, no one wants to really believe that two women's deaths are related. So there's a, or three women or four women. And that's what happened in the Pittman case, was for a couple of years, especially Sheriff Knight, but everybody else was just really resistant to put those cases together. And so you work really hard to get cases together, but then what happened was, once the FBI got involved, and once that there was a task force set up, to Knight's credit, he set up a task force and they started investigating these things. Then all of a sudden, every woman who had been murdered in Rocky Mount in the last several years became part of this collection of cases that Mr. Pittman was accused of. And I'm not saying at the law enforcement level, because I mean they know what's what, but the general public began to create this thing that he had killed all 12 of these women that had died in Rocky Mount since 2003, and put them all together. Well, I think some of the families liked that because it put their victims back in the spotlight. Because we had Denise Williams died in 2003. You had a couple other people that died in 2004 and 5. And they felt like maybe they had been forgotten. But with all the attention on Mr. Pittman, them getting their victim's name back into the limelight felt good at the time.
That's right.
Well, the problem with that is that when Mr. Pittman was convicted of murder and he was sent to prison, all those cases disappeared with him. When I got here in 2015, I remember the Pittman case from when I was a crime reporter in Wilmington and Jacksonville, and we were hearing about it a lot back when it happened. So when I found out I was coming to Rocky Mount, I thought there would be a lot about it. But I got here in 2015, there hadn't been a story in a newspaper or on TV or anywhere for almost 5 years.
Wow. And
so he was convicted, he was sent to prison, but there's all these other families that didn't get that closure and that justice.
We had 3 of the families on TV. I remember that at the power plant when it was going on.
Yes, but the sad part of it is that it's like atoms. I'm not a rocket scientist or whatever, but actually, that shows how stupid I am, because I don't think atoms and rocks. But it's really hard to get atoms together, but once you get them together, it's really, really hard to break them apart, and that's where nuclear energy comes from, right? So they got all these cases. It was really hard to get all these cases together.
That's right.
But once they got them together, it was extremely hard to pull them apart, and that's what I've been doing over the last 6 years, and some people like it and some people don't. But what has happened is that if Mr. Pittman had killed all these ladies, fine. Right? He went to prison for one of them. I mean, sometimes that's how, Al Capone went to prison for tax evasion, right? So if he killed all these ladies, fine. But the sad thing is, and law enforcement knows it, and they've said it, but maybe that's what we can do here moving forward, is he didn't kill all these ladies. So if he didn't kill, follow me, what's the logic conclusion? If Mr. Pittman didn't kill all of these ladies that died in Rocky Mount from 2003 to 2007, what does that mean?
Well,
If he didn't do
somebody
it,
did.
Exactly. So if he didn't do it, somebody did it, and they've gotten away with murder.
But what's so strange is, when he went to prison, the killing has stopped.
Sure it did.
And what we cannot forget is, just because he's, okay, we can say, and I've heard this comment, well, okay, he's in prison for life. He's not going to get out, so he's in prison. So, and nobody's been killed since, so let it go. No, you cannot let this go. You have to know who killed the women, because closure for these families is everything.
Right.
I've had them on TV, like I said.
Yeah.
They were pitiful.
Absolutely.
It was horrible.
And I would contend the killing didn't stop, because Jalisa Reynolds was killed in 2010.
And that is exactly right.
And when Mr. Pittman was in prison.
Right.
But the thing is the particular murders that Mr. Pittman was committing, and there's like 5 of them that the SBI, there's a search warrant. Actually, there's a search warrant for 98 Nostrium Lane. I'd like to figure out where they come up with that name.
I know.
That search warrant, the affidavit for that search warrant, see, all the stuff that was being done in Rocky Mount was under seal, under a court order seal, so the media couldn't get that. When they filed that search warrant in Halifax County, they forgot to put the seal on it. So some industrious reporter from somewhere found it.
Wow.
And got it, and then everybody else got it. So that's how Mr. Pittman was identified in the news media as the prime suspect and all that stuff.
Wow.
And so the names that are in that search warrant are the names that law enforcement believes that he killed.
Right.
The other names that aren't in that search warrant, I mean, we have, Edgecombe County's coming on as soon as we get it all ready to talk about one of these women that they've known all along wasn't part of the Pittman case. And they want people, and what I'm saying is that the sad part of all this is that those cases aren't getting the attention. I don't mean by law enforcement, right? That's what, folks, I'm not talking about the cops. The cops are always doing their job. They're always investigating murders, right? Yeah. But when the public thinks that it's over,
yes, then they don't give tips.
Exactly.
They don't help.
Exactly. So when the public thinks, oh, it's...
they need your help.
Right. Go ahead.
406-6736, folks. We have $15,000. We have an umbrella committee called Team Cold Case that is over the Kay Files that handles the money. We have $15,000 in the kitty at this time, ready to pay out up to $15,000. Call the number. It's as easy as that. It's anonymous, 406-6736. Please help with any case that we have talked about, and the Jalisa case as well.
Jalisa's still missing. There's some women from Scotland Neck that are still missing. And there's a lady from Rocky Mount, Joyce Durham, who is still missing. She's out there on Seven Bridges Road somewhere. They just haven't found her yet. So we've got we've got a missing person. We've got several dead women. We've got bodies that are being found. Were being found in the area. I was looking up Mr. Pittman the other day. I like to check and see on people what they're up to in prison.
That's neat.
Put this. This is what Mr. Pittman's been up to in prison.
Has he been behaving?
No, he has not been behaving. You'll see it as recently as February 16th.
Look what he is doing.
Disobeyed order, assault person with a weapon, sell misused medication, weapon possession, unauthorized leave, theft of property, a whole bunch of unauthorized leave.
Well, what is unauthorized leave? What does that mean?
Basically, he was not where he was supposed to be.
Okay.
Or he was not where he was supposed to be at the time he was supposed to be there.
Barter, trade, loan money.
Yeah, that's a big one. And unauthorized tobacco use. We'll probably, whatever. He wants to smoke a cigarette, fine.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that all those unauthorized leaves are kind of scary because he's not.
That's what I was looking at.
This is a guy who's killed a bunch of people, but at some point they don't know where he's at. You know what I'm saying? So he'll be there forever. I remember I had a colleague that I used to do this with a lot 10 years ago. We used to ride around and together, and we did a lot of newspaper stories together and all that. And he contacted me just the other day to let me know that a guy was getting out that convicted of second-degree murder 10 years ago. But the thing is like he used to tell me that, you know, we write these people go to prison, we write these stories, we go about our lives, we have kids, you know, whatever we do, all the things that we do and everything, and they're still in prison. You know, you can still go look online and look them up and see their updated picture and what they're up to. And at least I have some problems with the legal system in some regards, but at least in North Carolina, as of 1993, if you get convicted of first-degree murder, there's only 2 punishments for that. There's life and there's death, and that's it. You're not getting out of prison. If you get convicted of first-degree murder, you're not getting out of prison in North Carolina.
Right. Good morning.
Hello?
Hey, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
All right. Just wanted to make sure our viewers know that to be on the lookout for our fundraiser right after Easter with Don Bullock. And at his place, because this great work starting to happen, great show this morning, and those that want to keep us going and make sure that we can go ahead and continue to support rule of law, keep their eyes open, look out for the opportunity to contribute on a mini telethon.
That's right.
Awesome.
Hey, lastly, I was also wanting to just kind of augment Kay's comment earlier that you know, one of the challenges we have, the law enforcement has, is that the bad guys don't have to worry about our lines, but law enforcement does. And even though we are electronically connected, you know, it makes it a little tough sometimes to get information when it's if it doesn't quite get to the database in the same kind of time. So
that's right.
the boundaries mean less to bad guys than they do to the law enforcement guys, but they are there in an imaginary way and a legal way. So,
you're right.
Again, great show. Just a reminder.
Appreciate it, General. And we're going to talk when we get all more details. We're going to talk more about that fundraiser. That's definitely important.
Yes, absolutely.
We need money to keep it going.
Need to keep money in the kitty. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it, General. And he brought up a point too, a really good point about jurisdiction, and if a smart criminal knows how to take advantage of that. You know,
That's right.
the Green River Killer would always, up in Seattle or Tacoma, wherever that is up there, he would always dump the bodies in a different county than where he picked them up at, because that just complicated the hell out of trying to figure out, you know, who did it and whose responsibility it was. I think law enforcement works together a lot better nowadays than they used to. You know, there used to be, and you watch these old cop shows on TV or whatnot, there was always this jurisdictional problem. But I think with a lot of the task force, you know, they had the Internet Crimes Task Force and they had the Human Trafficking Task Force, whatever. I mean, they got, you know, and the sheriff works really good up on the interstate with interdiction. You know, so I mean, there's a lot more cooperation today than there used to be.
Right.
And he also made me think about what you said earlier, and I had my fingers crossed. I knew I was going to forget it, so I had the whole time, for like 30 minutes now, I had my fingers crossed, and then I forgot it. I looked down, I was like, why do I have my fingers crossed? When you brought up about Virginia, you know, that Jalisa could be in Virginia or whatever, that's very true, because in getting all of this stuff ready for the unidentified stories, right? There's a case in Orange County where the one was dumped on the freeway, right? So, so she could have been, and her socks weren't a very good detail in the autopsies that the bottom of her socks
I remember you saying that.
You know, so she dumped out of the car along the freeway. She could have been from anywhere from Florida to Maine.
Exactly.
And they just decided smartly, so, you know, 1 out of 100 or so criminals that realize that it's best to dump somebody not behind your grandma's house. You know, so, I mean, that's one reason why I think it's really important that we publicize these cases because people need to know. And we are worldwide on the internet.
We are.
I had somebody yesterday or the day before ask me if we could do a case from Indiana.
Well,
now,
sure.
I'm you know, absolutely, but like we said, there's some missing girls from Indiana. They could be within.
They could be around here.
Exactly. So
absolutely could, and we are worldwide. So
yes. Okay. So the last thing I got to say about Jalisa is that her family, every year that goes by, I mean, we just passed.
So she had a mother, a father,
right, all that, yeah,
siblings, all that.
We just passed the 11th anniversary of her disappearance.
Wow.
They told me just a few years ago they lose hope every year that goes by that she'll ever be found alive. My only hope, it's sad and morbid that we're at this point, but like you said earlier, my hope is that they find her body sooner than later so that we can get some convictions going. That's it for this week. Now next week, I promised it a couple weeks ago, and then we, we had Sergeant Tender on and everything. But next week we will spend the entire show. We're going to look at some of the worst here in North Carolina and in this area. We've talked for almost a year about the victims.
That's going to be interesting. You don't want to miss it.
We've talked for a year about the victims, but I figured next week we're going to talk a little bit about.
Do we have a worst of the worst?
Mr. Pittman would probably be at the top of my list.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Area,
so in this area, is that the worst of the worst?
Yeah, I would think Mr. Pittman. Although he's not the only one. There's some good ones. One of your old boyfriend that right? We'll talk about him.
I guess he was the worst of the worst. And you know, that probably does bear talking about when it comes to the worst of the worst.
I had a story that I'll tell at a later time, but it's a case from 1952. All the suspects are dead. And every time that I tell this, because it's a great story, every time I tell this story, people are like, well, you know, why does it matter? Brittany's opened the door twice. Why does it matter? Why talk about a case from 1952? Folks, we have to talk about these cases. If we don't, talk about these things, they tend to happen over and over.
That's right.
All right, see you next week.
Okay, 406-6736. Please call if you know anything anonymously.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.